Hello. All right. Hi, guys. Dr. Faith here. I'm just going to get loading my slides right away. Welcome. This is a really fun class tonight. We're going to be talking on self-sabotage. And I'm excited for this topic because it's kind of where you get to take everything that I've been talking about with health goals and steps that you guys have been needing to do with my last, I think 5 classes now over the last 2 months. And this is where we get to kind of put it all together, give you guys inspiration, give you hope, and help you to just kind of put it all in one big package bundle of how to start rocking forward and moving your life in the direction that you have been wanting to move it. So I'm just going to give a few seconds here, say hi to my friends who are joining. I'm so excited that you guys are with. Hi. Hello, Gail. Hello, Miss Salo. Okay. All right. We got a couple of people. I'm going to try to speak well tonight here. I've been working really hard on this presentation, and so in a way my eyes are a little bit buggy from all the computer work I was doing and the reading and putting together the slides for you guys. And so it's like, okay, it's all coming together. And if you hear some noises, I got my little corgi baby. Right, Luna? You're gonna join us? Are you joining us tonight? Yeah, hopefully she doesn't get into too much trouble. All right, so let's get started because I always have a lot to unpack and unfold when it comes to health, right? And on this topic, we have a lot. Hi, what's your umpire? Okay, sorry, Gail, you have to re-ask that. I don't know what that means. Okay, so here we go, guys. Sorry about that. Little delay in my start. Now, self-sabotage, some of you may have already heard of this term before. It is sometimes a common phrase, but I haven't really heard about it too often until the last couple of years. And it's been a topic that I've been studying recently because there's a lot of things that I'm wanting to do in my own life, and I have my own goals, and I just have a lot that's in me that I know that I want to get out there and be able to be my best and do my best. And there's just roadblocks and, different things that I'm coming across. There's kind of some stinking thinking on my part. There's been kind of some overwhelming feelings like I'm just never going to get this figured out. And so I've just been diving into like, what the heck? Why is this going on? You needed to figure this out. And so I've been diving deep for you guys to also understand some tricks of the trade when it comes to needing to propel yourself forward and you're tired of the same old, because I have been there. And it's in all stages of life, right? So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys tonight on things that we are doing to ourselves and things that if we can just get figured out emotionally, holy buckets, you guys, the potential that you have inside of you just comes flooding out. You have this opportunity to just like, I equivalent it to like maybe sometimes you feel like a tiger in a cage and you just know there's more for you and more for your life, but you're stuck and you're just kind of pacing. So this tonight, my hope is that it opens up the cage and you guys can just run free and be yourself, okay? Hi, Gail. Okay, so my YouTube channel account is just Dr. Faith. This won't be loaded until I'm done recording this class, so I'll download it and then I upload it right after we're done. So, Gail, you'll get a chance to maybe share that link for the YouTube channel in about an hour. Hopefully that's okay. All right. Thanks for joining, you guys. We're going to just keep moving on here. So, do you self-sabotage? So this is a fun quote that I came across. I cannot even say the name. I'm not even going to try, but it's I don't even know what nationality or whatever. But your worst sin is that you have destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing. And that's kind of like, okay, just sit there and think about that. Sometimes in another way that you can put it, that you are your worst enemy. So you've destroyed or betrayed yourself for nothing. And we're going to get to that, like what happens what I mean by that. But before we keep moving along, I just have a few books to just pop up, because if tonight's class kind of inspires you and motivates you to just kind of keep diving deep on this whole situation called self-sabotage. It's Luna. Are you sabotaging the class with your cuteness? Yeah, she is. Yes, you are. Okay, I know. I'm sorry. You'll get your own class. Okay. So if this topic really inspires you, there's 3 books that I've just been reading over the last few months. And when it comes to sabotaging your life, figuring out fear, and just like, hey, why am I doing these things to myself? And so tonight I get to do a little bit of kind of diving deep into some of these books and bringing out some of the nuggets for you guys and putting it all together. And so if you're joining me with this class, you possibly can relate, okay? Why you're here. Are you tired of having pain? And that doesn't necessarily mean physical pain. That can mean emotional pain. Are you feeling stuck? Like you're like, I know there's more for my life. I know that I have great potential. There's things that like I've been wanting to do for as long as I can remember, but I'm just feeling stuck, like I'll never get there. Do you need motivation? Don't we all, right? And you're just like, I don't know how to get over this big block, this big hurdle, and I'm pushing against a wall and I'm just getting nowhere despite my efforts. Do you just need encouragement? Right? We all need encouragement. Sometimes we just need a little perspective shared in a new way. And that's my hope is for you tonight, is to share a new perspective that you're like, oh my goodness, yes, I see that. Are you having happiness issues? And this is me. Like I've been recently feeling like my life is good. I have nothing to complain about. Life is a blessing. But I've been finding myself discontent. And it's like, what is up with that? Why am I feeling unhappy? And so there's a couple of things that I've been discovering about myself, and we're going to kind of get to that, okay? And it has to do with just some previous past, life situations, not past life, but like earlier life situations that kind of have led me up to the way I still think about myself, okay? Are you feeling like you're just dead and dull and you're like, I know there's a way to come alive, but I just can't put my finger on it. And like, do I hold back? And so that's maybe why you're here. And then the last one that is covered up, are you needing guidance? And definitely some of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you will give you really, really good guidance on how to understand what this whole self-sabotage thing is about and why the heck we're doing it to ourselves. So as always with all my classes, I kind of give you a rundown of how we're going to just get through the information, kind of the teacher mode. So we are going to talk about what is self-sabotage, what does it look like, why do we self-sabotage, and then again, it's just kind of blocked there. For me, it's blocked. I don't know if it is for you guys. How do I knock it off? How do I stop doing this self-sabotage? And then I just have tips and tricks for you guys on just kind of breaking free of just your stuckness. And this is in any area of your life. This is with your health. This is with relationships. This is with career. This is with finances. So all the top valuable things. We're just going to talk about how we can get you guys seeing a new perspective to get you unstuck and just really thriving in those areas that you've been wanting to thrive. So let's talk about what is self-sabotage? So it's the subconscious act of when you doubt yourself or your environment. Therefore, you get choices or behaviors that start to happen or ensue. And in order to, like, these happen, and then what happens is then it stops you from having like success, happiness, like you feel like your dreams aren't happening, you feel like you're failing, and it just kind of keeps going on and on and on. So then, in other words, it's that thing you do to prevent yourself from taking positive steps forward or making long-lasting changes, having traction or gaining momentum. So it's kind of a mouthful. It's the bottom thing there that just, again, is covered up for me. I can't see it. In other words, it is the thing that you do to prevent yourself from taking positive steps forward or making long-lasting changes, having traction or gaining momentum. Okay? So you all can kind of maybe relate. It's that thing you do. You kind of know like what I'm talking about. It's the thing you do where you're ready to just like, I got this, I'm going to go do this. And then all of a sudden it's like, halt, screaming, halt, skirt, right? All these things. And you're just like, why? What's my deal? Why do I keep doing this that I just can't keep moving forward or gaining traction or momentum? Okay? So it's this thing that we do as humans where we kind of get in our way, because what ends up happening with this self-sabotage situation scenario, we don't like being uncomfortable. That's what this is. That's what this is about. So as human beings, we love comfort. We stay close to what feels familiar, and we will reject what doesn't feel familiar, even if it's better for us. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Human beings are guided by comfort. They stay close to what feels familiar and reject what doesn't, even if it's objectively better for them. We like comfort, okay? And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. Self-sabotage is a way that we start doing things in our lives because we're scared of having things not be comfortable or easy, all right? In a way, we use this system, this approach of self-sabotage as a coping mechanism, okay? We will halt ourselves, we will talk ourselves out of something, we'll get into, an argument or a fight, or we'll just something, like if life is going well, then we'll kind of just like, no, it's too good to be true. And so then we sabotage our progress because we like to be comfortable, okay? Our default as humans, we love comfort and we love control. We love comfort and we love control, okay? So what does self-sabotage look like? And I'm going to let Luna out real quick. So hang on. Okay, there you go. Go on. She's like another child, my little baby girl. All right, so getting back to what self-sabotage looks like. These are the things that you guys are going to find yourself doing on a minute-by-minute basis throughout your entire day, okay? So self-sabotage, you've heard it, procrastination. We might find ourselves getting too easily upset, or we overreact. We start blaming others. We start complaining or having negativity. We compare, we get jealous. We have impulsive choices, such as I don't care, I'm just going to eat all this sugar and I just give up. I don't care. Or I don't care, I'm just going to go and make this, expensive purchase and I'll deal with it later. So impulsive choices. Or we'll do something called buffering or distracting, where we don't want to deal with the hard issue. We want to stay comfortable. So we will distract ourselves or kind of buffer by doing other things like overeating or spending, or being on social media, or just kind of, checking out, things like that. Getting into fights too easily. That's another one where it's like, life's going good, you're hanging out with your spouse, and then all of a sudden, you just start fighting over the silliest and the stupidest things, right? Like, it's almost clockwork. That is a self-sabotage behavior, okay? Gossip because you're not happy, so you have to kind of find ways of making yourself look better or sound better by talking bad about others. One big one that if you're not setting goals or having focus, that itself is a way that you can self-sabotage your success, because you're actually not even making plans to project yourself forward to grow, because you want to stay comfortable. You don't want to fail, right? So you don't even make goals. Excuses, right? We all know people who have wonderful excuses when it comes to wanting to set goals. Like, oh, I'm too tired, or oh, I can't today, my cat died, right? The excuses that we tell ourselves minute by minute, that's literally self-sabotaging, okay? Finding the worst in everything. So let's just say, somebody's like, hey, I'm going to try this new exercise. Do you want to join me? Oh no, I don't want to do that. That's just that's for the cool people. So it's like you find the worst in it versus actually be like, yeah, I could do that, right? You're already telling yourself you're going to fail before you even step foot going forward on trying to exercise. Quitting too soon, right? Because we like comfort. So what we'll do is oh, this is too hard. I can't do this. I'm just going to quit, or I will start again tomorrow. I'll try it again tomorrow. Or you know what? I'm going to wait until after Christmas. Yeah. I'll wait till after Christmas because then that's just, I won't fail. So that's one big one, is quitting too soon on yourself. Here's a big one, and it may not seem like, hey, why am I talking about, dating people? Granted, I'm talking about health most of the time. But yeah, unfortunately, if you're in the dating scene, you'll end up settling for someone who's not necessarily right for you because it's too painful to either A, say, I'm sorry, it's not working out, or B, you've kind of gotten yourself wrapped up in a lot of the mannerisms, and you're afraid of the fallout. So yeah, a lot of times we'll just settle for, oh, I'll just deal with it, it's all right. So that is actually a self-sabotage because you don't feel like you can be successful in finding the right person. So you settle, okay? Hang out with the wrong crowd. Oh, I think you all know this one. Big self-sabotage move. And that's kind of we've all done that in life and it's burned us. And some people, even in my adult years, there's times where I will make friends or acquaintance, and it's not like I'm trying to be, I guess you could say, better than myself. What I'm trying to say is there's just times in my life where I've learned, being older and hopefully wiser, I don't have to take on everyone's unhealthy habits. So I can love them from afar, I can be encouraging to them, but let's just say if they're going out and partying all the time and they're doing a lifestyle that is going to kind of prevent me from hitting my goals and my dreams, I'm not going to be doing that 100%. I'm going to be doing it maybe here and there as a support that I love you, but I can't live that same lifestyle, if that makes sense. Okay, putting yourself last or discrediting that you have needs. Often this will happen to a parent where you're going to say, everybody else comes first, I can't take care of me, I will come last. If I can get any time to myself, everyone else comes first. Which is very admirable, but at the same time, it's one of those situations that everybody in your family wants you healthy and well and thriving in your giftings and what you're put here on earth to do. And so if you are exhausting yourself making sure everyone else is happy, you all know you're going to be snapping at people, you're going to be yelling at people, you're going to be discontent, because you're not actually stating that you also have needs, and that you feel like God has you here for a purpose too. And granted, your family is a purpose, don't get me wrong, but there's a balance in all of this. And I see this happen way too common in especially my mom friends, but definitely my dad friends, where they just feel like I'm the provider. I can't, there's no time for fun. I gotta get home, I gotta do projects, and I gotta pay the bills, and so while that's admirable, in a way, when you're not seeing that you are taking time to recognize that, yes, there's got to be time for you to your goals and your plans, and kind of like the life, that God puts things on our heart for a reason of like who we are as a person. And if you're not getting a chance to do that, we all know that ends up meaning crabby daddy, right? Or short fuse daddy, because he too is not like being able to live out like what he wants to do in life. So he's in a way self-sabotaging when you just kind of put everyone else's needs first, not in a balanced way. And I'm trying not to like step on any toes by saying any of this, if that makes sense, okay? Pride issues are huge, holding grudges, right? You all know that there's people in your life that maybe they hurt you, there's some things that happened, and you are just letting that ruin your attitude. You're letting it steal your joy. And so there might be some times where you might just have to say, you know what, I gotta forgive that person. I need to just like let that go. It's a thing, it happened, but I cannot let that be sabotaging who I'm meant to be and taking a step forward, okay? So later on I have some exercises that we're gonna have you guys be able to download and do, just to kind of deep dive into the stuff that's kind of nitty gritty and that's like hanging on you and in your heart and your mind, where you're just holding back because all these things are in your mind of people and situations and scenarios in your daily life. And we got to start cutting through that clutter so that you guys can start living your best life and quit picking on yourself, right? Okay, another one that's a really fun one that I see happen a lot when it comes to self-sabotage. I hear this all the time. It's just the way I do things or how my family runs. And that's, like whether it's just like certain family beliefs, whether that's like, no, we don't believe in going to that person because they're quacks. I'm going to just say that as a chiropractor, I have heard that over and over and over, right? That, oh, we don't believe in chiropractors, so we're not going to go to them. But meanwhile, it's like, well, do you realize that maybe that person can help you, right? So I've had that happen so many times. The wife wants the husband to come get treatment, and the husband's like, no, it's all, they start just giving all these reasons, and I don't believe in chiropractors. And then what ends up happening is, the wife pesters them enough, and they're like, fine, I'll go to get you off my back. And then they come and they start getting treatment and they get advice on health. And then wouldn't you know, they start feeling better. Their pain starts going away. And then they get to be like, oh, well, okay. Actually, that wasn't such a bad thing, right? So that's a previous belief that you have your set up mind on something that I just don't do that, right? So that's another way of self-sabotage, because we get stubborn, right? Okay, so escapism, checking out or avoiding. I think this is a big one these days now with social media, with the palm of our hands. I see it with my kids. I see it with the students that I taught in high school, that things were just way too hard. They wanted comfort, and so they would immediately go to their phones and just escape. And the escaping was not for just a few minutes, hours, right? So you can check your kiddos' phones, even your own phones as adults. We are trying to avoid the painful things that we have to do by escaping or checking out, okay? Because like I said, we like comfort. We like the easy. We like the known. And then the last thing of what self-sabotaging can look like is lying, denying, or deceiving. And this is a big one that's it's like a big heart check, that if you find that you're lying to make yourself look good, that's a big issue. And that lying is a huge self-sabotage. And eventually it comes back to bite you in the butt big time, right? Because once you start down that lying road, you're making up more and more lies. And pretty soon before you know it, you don't even know who you are, right? If you're lying or denying or deceiving people. So I know I'm kind of getting to some nitty gritty, kind of hitting it home on like the activities that we are all, like I'm completely guilty on all of these different stages of my life. And just what's been happening now that I'm realizing, oh my goodness, these behaviors, now that I'm like kind of seeing them and I'm aware of them, I like instantly like, oh, knock that off. You're self-sabotaging. So I'll give you an example of just something that I did the other day. It was spring break with my kids. I was going to take them to Mall of America, and we were going to leave early because you have to get to the Mall of America early because you know how it is. You just traffic and you spend a long time there. And I was leaving the house with them mad because the house was messy. Okay, right? Have you all been there? Like, oh, the house is messy and can't you guys help out? And I instantly had to like, stop, Faith. You are leaving to go spend some time with your children on spring break, and you are making up a thing that is going to ruin the moment of just trying to get down there. You can worry about a clean house later, right? So that was one self-sabotage thing. I was going to ruin my moment with my kids of a good time because I was getting, frustrated about just a simple thing, okay? I've also been doing this, I've been lately noticing this with the husband, right? Because we have some goals of each other, we have things we have to do, and sometimes there's those like facial cues or like the body language, and I've been finding like in the past I wanted to like read into that body language or read into like his tone, and I was like, wait, stop. You're gonna self-sabotage. There's nothing there. He's on your side. So I have to just tell you, it's been a really big breakthrough in just all these little things that that create us from moving forward. They are the little daily things that you're doing to yourself minute by minute, right? And then the last little thing in there, sorry, it's kind of crowded out, but I had written in there, the behaviors that you think are holding you back are really just meeting your needs. So I'm going to say that again. The behaviors that you think are holding you back are really just meeting your needs. Okay? Now, the reason I say that is because self-sabotage keeps you in comfort. It keeps you from making the change you know you need to make. So you use it to meet your needs. You use it to control your life. I hope that makes sense. Okay? How you guys doing? I know I'm kind of getting into some deep stuff here, but stick with me because there's some really big breakthroughs and aha moments. Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Awesome. Thanks for the shout out. Okay. Now, when it comes to self-sabotage, there's another thing that we do to ourselves. Not only do we try to do that to like control us and keep us like from having pain, we also then set these limits. So I'm doing this right here. I'm putting this limit on ourselves. I'm like, okay, this is as far as I can go. That's all I'll allow myself to go. Okay? Because I know if I go any further, I'm going to maybe risk some things, and I'm going to maybe not have control because I don't know what's going on out there, okay? So we do these things where it's called self-limiting behaviors, and it's to keep us safe, or we think so. And then I'm going to come back to that middle one. But we are programmed to seek what we've known. That's just how it is. It's kind of a survival instinct. We are familiar with let's get what we know. I got to move on. I can't deal with stress. I'm going to keep comfortable. And so we're programmed to seek what we've known. Even though we think we're after happiness, we're actually trying to find whatever we're most used to. So keep that in mind. It's all about comfort and control. Sometimes within this limiting situation, we have belief systems about ourselves. And so in that process, those belief systems become attachments. Like it's almost like it becomes our identity. An example would be, let's just say you were diagnosed with a disease. And let's just say diabetes. So you have this now limiting belief on yourself that I have diabetes, and that's me now, right? And so now your view and your lens about yourself is your diabetes as an attachment to you, and it's almost now become an identity. And so to be able to break away from that now label or that thing that you now like take ownership on makes it really hard to make changes, because it's like it's gone deeper into you as a person. And so one of the things that I tell people as a doctor, if you don't know my story, I keep sharing every time I do a class. Years ago, about 10 to 15, well, actually 15 plus years ago, I was diagnosed with something called multiple sclerosis. And one of the very first things I did, which it must have just been, nobody taught me this, but I knew that I didn't want to make that an attachment on me. I didn't want to make that an identity to me. And so we've had that where, like, maybe when we were younger, a parent told us we're a certain way, or you had a boss or a coworker who said you were this. And so then you become attached to that as if that is who you are. And so therefore you're like, well, if I'm diagnosed with MS, okay, I'm limited. I can't go anywhere now. I'm stuck. So hopefully I'm not confusing this, but there's a limiting factor when it comes to situations and scenarios that have happened to us, okay? And so as a result, many of us will not want to go to what's called the upper limit. And I'm trying to find my slide here. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Y'all know that they don't put them when I save it into my Instagram photos. It is out of order. Here we go. Okay, so one of the things that we do when we're hitting the limit and we know we can go further, you have to realize in order to break past this limit, there is a whole lot of things that you have to let go, right? So I'll just give you an example of that diabetes situation. You're told you have diabetes. You're told there's no cure. You're told that you're going to be reliant on insulin for the rest of your life, right? So you're told these things that put the limit. But what if you realize for a moment, well, maybe I can break past that limit. Okay, but it's going to be scary. I don't know what's out there. I don't know if I'm going to get healed. I don't know. I might have to change my diet. I might have to, not care what my doctor thinks. You should care what people think, but, right, people are putting limits on you. So there's a thing called the upper limit of your potential. And in there's no ego. There's no need for recognition. It's the zone of you being the best self, whatever that ends up being. Whether that means, I know I have diabetes, but I'm going to work hard at trying to figure this out. I know I'm not going to get there overnight, but I'm going to figure out answers, and I'm not going to let all these other limiting factors cloud my judgment. That's one thing I had to do for the multiple sclerosis, right? I was so afraid. I was so fearful. But that was one of the things I said is I can't partner with all the naysaying out there because I know it's going to keep me here. And so that was one of the reasons I fully believe that I was able to break past healing and get answers, because I wasn't stuck in my narrow-mindedness of fear, okay? So the upper limit, now I'm just talking about disease. Let's just say you have a goal in life of what if you want to run a successful business, or if you have dreams where maybe you want to do photography for, let's just say families, like whatever it is, there's something that's inside you that you're passionate about. That upper limit is where you are being your best self. You're not afraid. There's no fears. There's no limits on you. Okay? And I'm going to be talking about fear here in the next few slides. A really good quote. Fear is the excitement without the breath. Okay? Fear is the excitement without the breath. Meaning, we hold our breath with fear. And we like, I can't do this. But if you breathe through fear, right? And you kind of let the things happen and your body process, it becomes excitement, okay? So fear is actually a really good motivator, but we have to break that down for you guys a little bit more, because that is part of the self-sabotaging that ends up happening. And so I want to talk real quick about when there is those attachments, when you have the limits on yourself. All of us are doing this. So you're going to take a moment for yourself and you're going to just think about when you have big, ongoing, insurmountable issues in your life, especially when the solution seems so simple, so easy, and yet so impossible to stick with. What you have are big, not big problems, but big attachments. And so that's where I was talking about how things that were said about you, beliefs, limiting, like that you're put into a box. Those are attachments that you have to work through, right? Like if you're finding yourself in that box where you're like, I know I need to exercise, but I just can't do it. I'm trying and I just can't gain traction. Maybe there's some odd attachment that maybe somebody said, oh, you'll never be good enough, or, oh, you're not supposed to be fit, or maybe somewhere back in middle school somebody said you were overweight, right? It's that simple. There's like legit things that you remember, it's in there. If I were to ask you of all these things that you come thinking back to and people said stuff about you, or family members or whatnot, that it attached onto you, you have to recognize it, become aware of it, and then from that, say, okay, that no longer is a part of me. That doesn't belong on me. That's not who I am. And then you might start to see you can make these steps and you'll gain momentum and traction, and you're not self-sabotaging or hanging on to those attachments. So I was talking about how as humans, we love to be comfortable. We love to be in control. And the biggest thing, we hate pain, right? We cannot stand it. We avoid it. We will do so many things instead to avoid pain. So pain is the situation of suffering physically, emotionally, or spiritually. It's our daily battle we face that consume our thoughts and our mind, whether it's real pain or assumed. This is the stuff that we think about all the time, right? This is I gotta do the dishes. Oh, I gotta do the laundry. Oh, I gotta pay the taxes. Oh, I gotta make that meal. Oh, I gotta mow the lawn. This is like the battle of pain and discomfort of the things that we're just ugh, right? It's just kind of makes us crabby, and it kind of puts us in a mode of, I just give up already, right? Because things are hard, things are difficult. So I'm going to give you guys an example of how we might need to have you start rethinking what pain means to you and like how to like actually embrace it, okay? So there was an article, maybe you've heard of this before, but there is this biodome in Arizona where they have all the plant species, and it's basically kind of a big science experiment to see how these species live in a dome, right? They're kind of, experimenting to see how you could do, how would they be able to put this on Mars or different planets. And so what they ended up finding, you guys, and like if you don't remember anything from tonight's talk, maybe you'll remember my tree story. But the trees dropped dead in that perfect environment. They had the temperature, they had the soil, they had everything perfect. But do you know what was not there that they dropped dead? Right? They were growing really fast too. Like it was a perfect environment, growth. And then all of a sudden, boom, drop dead. I don't know if anybody has any idea, if you've heard this story before, of why these trees just couldn't cut it. Okay. All right. It's because there was no wind. There was no wind. And so you have to think about it. What does wind do in the natural habitat for a tree? It's blowing around, it's stressing the bark, it's making the roots hold deep and hold strong, and it's making the tree to like grow thicker and have a strong outer bark, right? It's challenging the tree. Wind challenges the tree. Without that challenge, the tree dies. Okay? So the moral of this story, we might have to stop seeking comfort all the time. The hardships, the pain, all that actually makes us stronger, okay? And as much as we hate pain, it's part of life, you guys. I have to tell you that. And the sooner you can embrace knowing that pain is part of the journey and the ride, the sooner you can stop avoiding it and avoiding you from making the steps forward and getting you to where you want to get going in life. We don't like pain, right? So we are naturally inclined to choose the path of least resistance. Therefore, by choosing a self-sabotage behavior, we get to stay pain-free. Or at least we think so temporarily, right? We think by avoiding that project or avoiding getting healthy, we're going to avoid having pain. There's discomfort ahead. Yes, there is discomfort ahead. But without it, you're not going to grow. Okay? So there's a couple things we have to get to on why we really do not like pain. And you guessed it, it has to do with fear. Okay? So there's a core issue. We are afraid of so many things. The big four, we're afraid of failure. We just think somewhere we're just not good enough. We won't ever amount to being good enough. We won't reach our potential. We're afraid we're just not going to get there. We just think we're going to fail. So we are afraid of failure, but actually I would say we're also afraid of success and achievement because we know it's going to take a lot of work and pain to get there. Okay? Fear of rejection, that's another big one. Somewhere you were told you're not accepted, you're not good enough. I definitely have struggled with this one. I've had it where when I wanted to start educating, I was like afraid of what people were going to say. I'll admit it. I was afraid of what they're going to say, that they're going to be like, what you're teaching is just stupid. And that's a lie, right? I had to get over that because you know what? I'm doing this for me because I have a passion and I want to help people. And I know that my gifting is to encourage and motivate. And I have to get over not caring what people think. Okay? I'm being honest and vulnerable with you guys. We all have these fears. Okay? Another fear, I'll share this one with you, fear of the future. I definitely have a fear that things are not going to turn out. This definitely stems from when I was younger. My parents got divorced at when I was in 4th grade. And so there was definitely like, oh my goodness, well, I'm not going to have parents. I don't know, right? That's a huge rumbling when you're young. And then I joke because of my dad went on to have 5 wives. That's a good story for another time. But you can imagine, I never really had a set future. And so I always had a fear things weren't going to turn out. So what did I do? I had to take control. Okay? I'm still working on that. And then fear of pain. I think we all have this. We're afraid of getting hurt physically. We're afraid of people hurting us. We're afraid of losing loved ones. And so we will kind of go out of our way, avoid things, say things, sabotage relationships, thinking that, well, I'm not good enough for them, so I'm just going to end it, right? So these are just big examples of the core fears that we all have that have stemmed from something that's happened to us in life, okay? And it's the weirdest thing. We just seem to hang on to those fears as if they are comfort. Sounds weird, right? So we fear the unknown and don't trust ourselves or the situation. And so the next slide I have is a really cool slide. You can definitely screenshot this next one, or I do have it on, I made a worksheet for you guys that has this on there, or you can get it at ctoministries.org. But if you kind of look at this awesome fun circle, okay? If you see the outer ring, it says self-protection. And you can see all the things that I was talking about, the self-sabotage things that we're doing. We're withdrawing, we're hiding, we're trying to please people, we're denying things, we're fantasizing, I'm trying to read, we're lying, blaming others, critical, being negative and critical, being angry, okay? That's that self-sabotage, right? You go into the next circle, fear. We're afraid of being rejected, failure, pain, the future. And in the middle of all that is because we don't believe that we're going to be taken care of. We don't believe anyone has our back, right? We don't believe in that there's a higher power or a creator that's actually loves us and is going to take care of us. And so we have to take control. And so then you have all these little situations that you'll start doing because in the circle of it all, you don't trust that you're going to be okay. And that's not for you to worry about. I know this is kind of hard to say, to swallow, but that's not for you to worry about. You will be taken care of. You already have been. If you haven't seen that in your life already, somehow you're still okay. Somehow you're still making it. Somehow you still have people who like you. You have a job, you have food, you have a house. Somehow you're doing all right. And so you might have to kind of let go of some of that control. So here's a friendly reminder. Fear is not going to protect you. Worrying is not going to protect you. Overthinking surely is not going to protect you. Self-sabotage is not going to protect you. and your human ways will definitely not protect you. Okay? There's only one protector, and that's, a Heavenly Father. Okay? So I just have to put that out there. Now, moving on, we have to understand discomfort, and then we're going to get to some action steps here in a little bit, you guys. I know this is a lot. I'm excited to share this stuff because, man, it's been bringing some good breakthrough for my life, and I've been finding that I'm kind of, I guess you could say, I've kind of knocked off the self-sabotage a little bit, and I'm telling you what, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty free feeling to know that I've been kicking my own butt, and guess who gets to fix it? Myself. Okay? So within all that, one of the biggest things I had to figure out, I needed to start embracing discomfort. I think that was the biggest thing I've been avoiding in all my things I've been wanting to do, because I know it's going to be painful and hard. Okay? And so if you can embrace discomfort in the moment, it has a short shelf life, and that is so true. So true. You just have to face it head on and be like, you know what? I'm doing it. It's going to be uncomfortable. I know it's going to be painful and fearful. And like, even there's times when I'm talking to you guys, I'm afraid. And you know what? I'm just going to push through, and it ends up being okay. Because I'm tired of prolonging the pain and just making myself stay stuck. I'm tired of it. So I'm choosing to experience all the good and the bad emotions. I'm accepting negative as part of life sometimes, but I'm also accepting that, you know what? I don't have to make it a big deal. That's the other thing of it. We look for the bad, and then we make such a big deal about it that we want to avoid it at all costs. So what if we just knew that bad things happen, but guess what? You're going to be okay. You're going to get through it. And you're going to get through the next one and the next one and the next one, and stop letting pain be the roadblock. Okay, we're doing awesome. So one of the things about self-sabotage, this is the other cool thing that I learned. It's ultimately just a product of low emotional intelligence. So as I've been telling you guys, these situations and these scenarios, it's an unawareness of how you're responding to your situations and your life. So if you're getting into a fight, if you're avoiding things that are painful, you have to realize, no, that's just part of life. Switch it around to that, hey, this is an emotional intelligence thing that I can gain. I can turn it around and understand I can be smart about this. I can see this actually very logistically. And so when you start to see it that way, you can almost plan for you to not self-sabotage, okay? So it's a muscle that you have to start building, emotional intelligence. So this is where I'm going to tell you, go ahead, make goals, dream, actually allow yourself to be happy and content. Wow, you're going to allow yourself. But then you have to be ready that you're going to start self-sabotaging. You're going to start overthinking things. You're going to start looking for the bad. And then you'll be like, wait, I'm doing that again. I'm self-sabotaging. Okay, so I have this group of friends that we meet once a week. And we've been talking about this self-sabotage situation. And we're talking about our dreams and our goals and scenarios that are happening in our homes. And we are all now chuckling at ourselves because we're like, oh, I totally self-sabotaged that one, right? They start, like, here's an example. My friend was talking about how she has, like, no friends. People are intimidated by her. And I'm like, hey, stop. You're self-sabotaging right now. She's like, oh my goodness, you're right. I'm talking horrible about myself, right? So we just do that. We have to catch ourselves on our way to our goals and realizing there's pain and like we're allowed to be happy. We're allowed to have good things. So stop sabotaging. It's a muscle that you have to understand. Up here, I got to build this where I got to knock off talking bad and sabotaging. I hope that makes sense, okay? So that's been the latest exercise I've been personally building, okay? Now, I always have some kind of little handout for you guys. You can go back and do this on my bio in the link that says Linktree. I have a little quick deep dive worksheet, also with affirmations. But in this, we have some questions that you can ask yourself and start kind of just opening up kind of some of the ugly that's been weighing on your heart, in your life, junk that you've been carrying around, and it's stealing your joy, and it's stopping you from doing the things that you want to do in your life, okay? So these are the questions that I'm going to be asking you guys on this worksheet. If you want to do this exercise, that's on you. You do it at your own time, but I have the link in my bio. I want you to be very specific. I want you to write everything you're not happy with. And I know it's going to sound negative and gross and like, oh, how I don't want to do it. Do it. Do it, because you have to come to an awareness and just like understanding the triggers in your life and the things that you are actually looking for the bad, and then you're like reinforcing that it's bad. And when you know that, you can start to be like, I am self-sabotaging so many things, okay? And so you're going to write down every problem you're facing. If it's finances, be specific. If there's debt issues, bills, income, student loans, right? If it's your self-image, if you are constantly saying how ugly you are, how overweight you are, how painful or like how disfigured, okay? You're going to have to like come to terms with that, because that's all lies, right? Those are lies that you are believing about yourself. That, hey, okay, if you're overweight, then you got to figure out, why am I so obsessed about this? And why am I letting this be my roadblock? Okay, there's reasons, right? And we've talked about health reasons in the past, but there's usually something about self-image that the more you focus on it, the more it becomes just like, that is your self-sabotage, right? I hope that makes sense. Anxiety, anger. There's the thing where if there's people in your life, you have to write some names down. The things that they might do that trigger. I know this sounds super deep and kind of like, oh, why would she even want me to talk about this and write about it? Because you have to open these wounds. Because if you're not opening these wounds and like being willing to release them and get them out of your life, you're going to keep self-sabotaging, okay? You're going to keep wanting to stay in comfort of the unknown, of what would it be if I was actually free? How would that feel? Well, you got to release all this garbage, okay? And so you can see that I have a lot down, writing down your fears. What are the sabotaging behaviors that you do? What are your attachments, right? I'm getting deep with you guys, and I'm not going to tell you how to fix it all. I'm showing you to kind of get it out there, get it ugly, and then start to be like, okay, I'm recognizing this in myself. I'm tired of this. I don't want to partner with this anymore. And I'm going to healthfully and emotionally be intelligent about moving forward, knowing that these are the things that are consciously holding me back. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So a couple things. Now, being a chiropractor, I have to talk to you guys about sometimes when there's emotional things that we are holding on to, you might not always realize that there's some physical components to it. And so sometimes you've heard where, okay, I feel fear, and so I might feel like an anxious stomach, right? Like that gut feeling. Some people will feel that. If you have heartache, you feel it in your chest. Stress and anxiety, you're going to feel it in your shoulders. Relationship problems can feel in your neck and your shoulders. Feet or knee problems, you feel like you can't move forward, so you have pain there. And so the reason I say these is because when you're not dealing with these emotions and you're not feeling the pain, you're avoiding it, guess where it goes? It goes onto your body. So you might have to come to terms with some of the stuff and the baggage and the emotions that you have not allowed yourself to feel. And you got to start letting that go. Okay? So our bodies speak to us in voiceless ways. Emotions get stored in our body when they are not fully expressed. You may have to allow yourself to feel a range of emotions to move on. And who knows, you might just need to have a big old huge cry session, yell session. People do this. They just get out their frustrations, they have their hissy fits, they have their pity party, and they just like, whew, they let the emotions happen. Their body gets, like, we've all felt it. After a big, huge cry, we feel better. Yeah, there's a reason. We've released it, okay? And you might have to do it a couple times, and it's all right. Because here's a couple other things that can happen. When you keep holding these emotions onto your body, you can get these things that are called diseases of unfulfillment. And what that means, when people are not expressing their full potential, they often get vague, hard to diagnose symptoms. I'm going to say this again. Diseases of unfulfillment, meaning you didn't fulfill your potential in life. And you can have it where then they often get vague and hard to diagnose symptoms. And lo and behold, when you start to work with these patients and help them to know what their potential is and help them to understand their self-sabotage behaviors, and you help them to start healing, their symptoms start to go away. Okay? Now, healing is not about going back to exactly who you were before. Healing is simply releasing the sickness that is the limiting beliefs and fears that are holding you back. When you heal, you recognize what is wrong and you take action to allow yourself to feel discomfort. Gotta feel that pain. You're not avoiding it. You're allowing yourself to say, I know I have fears. They're not going to control me. I'm going to feel this, and I'm going to push on, head into those fears. Because then if you don't, you're going to end up having worry, anxiety. You're going to feel frozen. You're going to feel numb to emotion. And you're going to let these things control you. Okay? That's what healing is about. And it's ultimately between yourself and yourself. You versus you. All of this has nothing to do with anyone else. No one can come in and do this for you. You can't be blaming anyone else for why you're not getting better. Can't be blaming anyone else for your reasons for not having success. This is you. Okay? This is your life, your choices, your baggage that you get to release. Okay? And I'm sorry this covered, but action steps, okay? Let's start talking about action steps. A mind-blowing singular breakthrough is not what changes your life, okay? We're all waiting for this big epiphany. Finally, I had a breakthrough, and now I'm finally changed forever. Okay, that might happen to a few people, but to be quite honest, it's the tiny changes. It's the tiny awareness of things that you do on a daily basis. And in my little black square there, it says it's the restructuring of our habits and having emotional intelligence. Okay? These are baby steps. So I have a couple action steps or a couple recaps here, okay? So we're going to recap what I've been talking about, because it's a lot to throw at you guys. It's a lot to be like, whoa, this is just deep stuff. But feel free to, rewatch or look up those books that I had in the beginning, because I'm not making this stuff up. This is really good information out there. And I know personally it's been helping me and a lot of my friends understand why we're stuck, okay? So in all of this, you have to know yourself. The number one thing, awareness. You have to know what the heck is going on. That's why I had you write that sheet of all those questions I have of self-sabotage and the things you're not liking about your life, you have to have awareness, okay? We're not going to ignore this anymore. We're not going to avoid discomfort and pain, right? And we hate the lack of control, don't we? You have to realize sometimes you're just not in control and you're not meant to be. You're meant to be focusing on other things, and I'm going to get to that. Number 2, we have to learn to embrace those fears and those feelings and the pain. It's okay. It's all right to have a discomfort feeling or an uncomfortable situation. It's okay. You'll get through it. Okay? Avoiding it is only going to make it last so much longer, and it's going to set you up into some really bad habits where you're literally afraid to do anything. Okay? So stop having these things where you're running from fear, pain, and discomfort. And ultimately what you're doing is you're self-sabotaging. Okay? AKA getting in your own way of growth. Number 3, I always say this statement, imperfect actions, but in this one I added imperfect micro actions. Any little step that you take on a daily basis is great. That is good enough. That's progress. It's moving forward. And you're going to have days where you're like, I'm right stinking thinking again. The next day or the next hour or whatever, start over. Keep making forward steps, okay? You have to keep doing this. You have to know there's going to be discomfort. Life is not meant to be easy. I'm sorry to break that to you. But you are made to be resilient. You're made to be emotionally intelligent on how you handle things. And you're going to be okay, okay? And so number 4 is talking about emotional intelligence. Things are going to work out. You have to have faith in your journey. Stop overthinking everything and just take some sort of action, okay? But you might have to rifle back to some of the fears that you're hanging on to. Otherwise, you're just going to be staying stuck, right? And you might have to kind of keep coming back to these concepts because this is new. This is new information that's hard to understand. And again, like I said, we like comfort. We like control. We don't like pain. So we're going to always naturally be running back to that position. But you have to just take baby steps forward. And eventually, what happens, if you want to change your life, you need to make tiny, nearly undetectable decisions every hour of every day until those choices are habituated. Then you'll just continue to do them. It's just what happens, okay? It's like baby steps to the new habit. One example, and I always talk about sugar, right? I had to give up sugar to heal the multiple sclerosis situation. I did not want to give up sugar. I loved it way too much. It was a comfort, a huge comfort. And I didn't want to give it up because it was going to be painful, right? And so I started to just do baby steps of removing it from my life. And yeah, there was some discomfort. There would be days where I just really wanted some bad for me chocolate, or I really wanted some bad for me cookies. And not just a little bit. I wanted copious amounts, right? So it was painful. I had to get through that. And guess what? I did. And I kept getting through it. And I kept getting through it day by day by day. And then eventually, I no longer needed sugar as a comfort. Right? Cool, right? I love that. All right. Keep going. I'm moving forward here. So it's okay, right? You might have to make peace and give up control. It's okay if you're not where you planned. It's okay if you don't know how you'll arrive. Healing requires you to take an honest inventory of your grudges, your aggressions, your fears, your desires, and what's not working in your life. Just like I had that worksheet for you guys. It requires you to be completely honest with yourself to feel it all. I'm sorry, you're going to have to feel some ugly things, okay? But the sooner you start feeling these ugly things and you face these fears head on, you can stop running, avoiding, numbing yourself, right? And you can knock it off. So here's my daily challenges for you guys. Because sometimes you're like, I'm so overwhelmed. Where do I start? So I'm just going to have some starts and stops that you can definitely work on this. So some big self-sabotage things. Stop complaining. Stop blaming others. Stop worrying about challenges and how hard things are going to be. Okay? You were made to be stronger and more resilient than you allow yourself to be. Stop limiting what you're capable of. Go ahead and be your amazing, true, authentic self. And by saying that, I know you're scared by even me just saying that. I'm afraid to be my true, authentic self. What would people think of me? Eventually you're going to have to get the, I don't care. Because it's about what I got to do for me. And what I got to do to continue to push forward for what I'm put here on this earth for. Okay? So a lot of you know you are here for big things, and you might be getting a little frustrated because you just don't feel like you're doing any of it. Okay? Another thing you can start doing, start to embrace discomfort and allow for feelings. That one's a hard one because so many of you have just been stuffing feelings aside. You've been numbing, you've been distracted, you are eating for comfort, you are turning to other methods to avoid feeling, right? All those self-sabotage feelings. Start embracing discomfort. And like I said, the sooner you embrace it, the faster you get through it. And then you realize that actually was not so bad. And then you move forward, and you move forward, and eventually it becomes a habit. Start to understand you're not alone, and you don't need to control everything. That's a big one. Often if you feel stuck, sometimes just by talking it out, or like I said, getting some motivation from maybe the Bible or a friend who has wisdom, or I love listening to motivational podcasts from people who've done things before, who've overcome their fears. And we're not here to do life alone. And there's amazing resources out there. The biggest thing is, again, that's an action step that you have to do. Start being unafraid, unashamed, free and bold to be yourself, right? You want to feel free. A lot of this, people are afraid to be who they are. They think if they say or do their goals in life, that people are going to judge them. And like I said, it's not about them. And actually, to be quite honest, if you were to ask those people that you think are judging you, you might be surprised. They think nothing of what you're thinking. And so you're letting those thoughts control you and manipulate you into doing nothing. Okay? It's amazing. Because guess what? They're just thinking about themselves and then probably think about what others are thinking about them. Right? It's a horrible cycle that we all do to ourselves. We're worried about what everybody thinks, and so therefore we try to impress everyone. And guess what? Those everyone's don't care. Okay? So it's a weird situation that we do to ourselves. So I want you to know you are safe, you are protected, you don't need to look for the bad around the corner, right? The boogeyman's not out to get you. You don't have to always be afraid of everything. You're allowed to have good things in life, right there. That's a big one. So many of us think we don't deserve good health. We don't deserve good relationships. Oh, and how dare us want actually to be successful and have money, right? Because people will judge you for having money. Well, first of all, stop that. That's not the case, right? Because that's self-sabotage talk. You deserve to have good things. Good things were put in this earth and on this world and in this life for us to enjoy. So many of us are avoiding the good things because we don't feel like we deserve them. That makes no sense, okay? So quit caring so much what others think. You'll have to get there. Don't worry, you'll get there. It's a process. And if you need help, definitely say, knock it off. You got this. And I think you're amazing, right? I will only tell you that you're amazing and I believe in you and I'm not going to judge you, right? That just doesn't belong anywhere, right? Okay, here's something that I have done when it comes to a tangible thing, right? Because I'm telling you, start and stop, don't do these things. But a tangible thing when it comes to wanting to hit goals or, let's just say you're ready to take action. You're like, okay, I know I'm self-sabotaging. Okay, I know what my fears are. All right, I think I'm ready to start taking some action steps towards my goals. And so you have to understand, pain is going to be there. Pain is going to be always in your face every day when you're waking up. So therefore, one of the biggest things I've learned when it comes to hitting goals, you do the hard things first. Okay? All right? So simple task for success. It takes a ton of willpower to switch off the world. Okay? Meaning like the first thing you do is you grab your phone, you start responding to texts and emails, and you see you have to call someone back. And like before you know it, your whole day's gone by and you haven't hit your goals. You haven't taken care of the things that you need to take care of. And then you feel defeated. So one of the first things you have to do is you have to switch off the world for even just a few hours. That's okay. And sometimes if you get up early, even easier. So it takes a ton of willpower, but you can do it. And then it's okay to disappoint a few people for a few hours while you are, hey, what if you actually were like, I'm going to go work out. Oh, wait, no, I have these emails and these texts, and oh no, I have to put out fires. Oh, I can't go work out now. Do you see where I'm going with this? You have to actually have willpower to say, no, I will get to that later, okay? So sometimes you have to do a thing called block scheduling. And this is where people get the most important work done right away in the morning. If you're not a morning person, okay, maybe you get it done at night, but still you're block scheduling and you're cranking it out, okay? And you're taking care of what you need to do to be successful, right? You're not self-sabotaging your time. That's a big one. Number 2, set yourself up for success. Imperfect action and quit self-sabotaging and avoiding your gifts. You all have gifts out there. You know what they are. You might have to set some time where you are getting to be in what's called the zone of being you, and you're doing your purpose. You're working out. You're making the healthy food. You're going on dates with the husband, right? The things, the goals in your life. You are block scheduling it to make it actually happen. You can't wait for it to come to you. You got to go out and get it, okay? And then number 3, you have a creative self, and sometimes you might have to actually allow yourself to work that first, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. One of the things of my goals that I've been doing for years is I've been wanting to give content on health and wellness. And in the morning, I got kids to get to school, and I got, lunches to make, or I got random, vet appointments, right? All these random things. So one of the things that I had to learn was, all right, if you're going to actually hit this goal of doing content and wanting to share your passion with people, you have to block 1 or 2 hours within your morning or within, somewhere in my day where I know I'm not going to get interrupted and I'm going to hit that goal, okay? Often I will make sure I'm doing the hard things first so that I don't get bogged down with all these other things and then never get to taking care of the things that I want to take care of in life for my own goals, okay? I'm not saying anywhere in here that you're neglecting your family. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying there's room for all of it, okay? You just have to schedule ahead to take care of yourself. Otherwise, we know it's not going to happen, right? We know it's not going to happen, okay? And then take care of those texts and those emails. It's going to work out. Because if you don't, guess what? You'll be frustrated that you're just not getting anywhere. And then you're going to self-sabotage, right? We don't want that. All right, so just keep moving forward, you guys. You don't need to wait until you feel like changing to start changing. All you need is to make one micro shift at a time. Like I said, embrace the pain, the discomfort. Know that you're here for good things. And with all that, when it comes down to it, this whole self-sabotage thing, you were here for a reason. You were put on this earth to do great and amazing things. And at the end of all of this life, God is not going to go to you and say, why were you not Moses? Why were you not Noah? Right? Why weren't you someone else? No, he's going to say, why weren't you Faith Schumann? Why weren't you? And I'm really like, well, because I was afraid? No, right? It's not anyone else's agenda. We have giftings and we have things that we're good at and we're passionate about. And if you're self-sabotaging and being afraid to be yourself, then we got to talk. Okay? So remember, there's only one you. You got this. And I'm hopeful that you guys got some good information tonight. We're done. I know I kind of went maybe a little bit over, but to be quite honest, I feel like I gave you some good meat. And you get to pick it apart and see what you want to learn from it. The next classes that I'm going to be having will be on cooking classes. I'm going to take a break from a lot of my intense talks here because they're very intense. They go a good hour because I like to give you guys big info. I want to get you guys going in the right direction because we all got good things to do, don't we? But now I want to teach you guys some cool cooking things that I do for my family. And so for the next couple of Instagram lives, we'll be in my kitchen cooking. Okay? All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your amazing encouragement. And we will see you in a couple weeks.